some action tonight. Hello, America. There was a report out this week that only 22% of 8th graders passed a basic civics test in the country. The conclusion, millions of young Americans will be unprepared to be informed and engaged, that a healthy citizenry, a healthy democracy requires. When the news last Sunday came out of UBL's death, the number 5 search on Google was, who's that? 25% of all searches overall for UBL came from those under 24. That means kids growing up today don't know who the most wanted man in the world is. You should have seen some of the searches. They were, why did they kill him, and why does it matter? What did he ever do to anyone? You want to know what they do know? Global warming. A new Yale study says 57% of teens understand that global warming is caused mostly by humans' activities. Is it really now? We also have 2 Girl Scouts in Michigan leading a campaign against their organization's cookies, saying the heavy use of palm oil contributes to destroying the rainforest and killing endangered species like orangutans. Keep killing the orangutans, the cookies are yummy. So, they have 57,000 signatures. But out in California, groups of teens are now suing the government for not protecting the earth. And they're planning marches across the globe. They wrote on their website, "Our climate, our future, our revolution." They say, quote, "Youth have the moral authority and the legal right, as the generation most affected by the climate crisis, to demand that our government protect the atmosphere for our future," end quote. I showed you yesterday at Tucson School, in a Tucson school board meeting. It got out of hand. The kids chained themselves to desks, pounding their fists. The meeting was rescheduled. The situation the second time turned out so ugly that riot police had to be called in. This all over a cancellation of Mexican-American Studies class. That class is teaching kids to overthrow the United States government and take states back for Mexico. A school used to be a place to learn, not just history, science, math, but also discipline and respect for authority. Our educational system has put social justice and political correctness above our education, and our children are not only being shortchanged, they're being turned into, I think, slaves eventually. Take a listen to the complaints about our educational system. These are just some of them. Education policies are written by politicians and special interest groups. Eliminate teachers' tenure. Eliminate teachers' last hired, first fired policy. There's bias and distortion in textbooks. Teachers' unions are just powerful political machines. Frustration with the political activity of the NEA. They're removing God and the Bible out of schools and replacing him or it with intellectual neutrality. There are no morals taught in schools. Huge retirement packages, people say. The teachers' pensions are a problem. Not allowing children to fail in our schools. Board of Education is controlling what they teach and when they teach it. And schools have become too politically correct. This is a group of complaints not from parents, but from teachers. The complaint directly from teachers, brave teachers, sitting in the audience tonight. This is an audience tonight made up of teachers. First of all, how many are in a union? How many are comfortable saying that you're in a union on television? Okay, I mean on this show, because I mean everything you say, you're toast. Just get everybody's name and phone number down. If their car explodes, we'll know it's because of the show. I wanted to talk to you, and normally we don't have this much dialogue with the audience, but you are a group of people that I've been wanting to talk to, because we just had a woman talk to us. We have her on next week, I believe. She is a liberal Democrat. I'm sure she disagrees with almost everything that I say on this program. But she went to look into what was going on in Tucson, where they are teaching the overthrow of the government. And she was horrified by what she found. And she said, this is completely out of control. And I think if people don't start waking up, if teachers don't start speaking out or gathering together in other groups besides their unions, we're going to lose quickly here. Anybody else feel that way? Kathleen, why do you feel that way?
I'm not currently teaching. I'm a former teacher, but I'm now a homeschooling mom because the problems with public education have just become, to me, something that teachers have to constantly battle. You're not allowed to teach. Academics, subjects have been kind of pushed aside because of the political agenda and things these groups have. Parents, unfortunately, have very little understanding of what's actually going on a day-to-day basis, and it's kind of, we need to get together and say enough's enough.
Who here thinks a good deal of the problems lie with the parents? Okay. You in the second row, why?
Parents are, where I teach, they're just non-existent. So when they come into us, they're very much, they're a product of their environment. And for us to try to change that, it's very, very difficult because they're not getting reinforcement anywhere else.
Anyway, yes, I can't see your name up in the, Christopher, yes, Christopher, go ahead.
I totally agree. I think, we're coming from a society where family values are not taught anymore, but the buck needs to stop with us in the schools. We can't make excuses. This is a reality.
See, I have to tell you, I think the parents a lot of times are at fault, but you know the fastest way to fix that?
Discipline in school.
Discipline in the school? Mm-hmm.
Educate them.
Educate them? Morals and values? What's the fact?
What's gone in the school? It's all gone. I mean, we used to be able to teach. Our country was based on God and the Bible. That's why they came over here, and religious freedoms. Then we ended up going, now we don't have that anymore. We can't tell kids that the Ten Commandments are here, thou shalt not steal, period.
Well, I think the best way to fix this, though, is to have a voucher system.
Oh, I agree.
Oh, yeah, that would be fantastic.
I would love a voucher system.
And why?
Because I've been paying school taxes, and then I send my kids from nursery to 12, and I pay on top of it.
No, I'm talking about how to fix the parents. Why would it fix the parents?
Because if they choose to go to a certain school, it's the families and the students that actually want to be there to learn.
Yes.
I work at a charter school, and I see the difference. The families want to be there. They choose to go there, and
look, here's the thing. I'm a recovering slug. I remember when I sobered up. Before I sobered up, I sent my kids off to school, and they're going to learn something. What are they teaching you that in that school? That kind of mentality. When I sobered up, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute, I have a responsibility here. I remember going to the school, and it was second grade for my daughter, and I actually asked the teacher, do you have like a syllabus? And she said, no. And I said, well, could I get some of the textbooks? Because I just want to read, and I want to know where you are so I can help reinforce. And she actually looked at me, and she said, Mr. Beck, we've got it from here on. We're okay. We'll teach your daughter. And I said, excuse me, you work for me. I don't work for you. And I was shocked because I really thought the teacher would be happy to have somebody get their child all ready so I could read ahead and be reinforcing it at school. But parents, most parents, because we're all busy and everything else, we think, well, you got it. And that's why you guys talking amongst yourselves or talking in unions is not strong enough. There's a lot of parents out there now, like me, that don't know. Until you guys came here, I didn't know we could get this many teachers who are currently in a union to show up. I really didn't. We had no idea. Yes, sir.
Can I call you Glenn?
Yes, please. Call me Fred tonight.
What you did with your daughter was absolutely right. You should go in and demand a syllabus. Where I teach, I'm teaching 30 years, and I've been paid I don't know how many times to reinvent the wheel. And that's what I think the problem is. We have a curriculum, it's a thorough curriculum, but somebody somewhere comes up with a new idea, oh, we have to do it this way now. And it's a total waste of taxpayers' money. I'm a taxpayer too, and I see a lot of waste in the schools.
Of course.
And I don't know, somebody sitting somewhere coming up with these vocabulary terms and this jargon, and it's just a total waste of money. I was just at a workshop. We're doing curriculum mapping. I wrote the curriculum, well, half of it for my department about 2 years ago. Was paid to do it. And at the end of the seminar, the lady said, well, what did you think of this? And I said, I had the binder under my arm, this thick. I said, I wrote half of that 2 years ago. I said, this is all redundant. And it just annoys me because I'm a taxpayer too. And I see the waste.
So you guys are...
I see the waste.
You guys are in a job where I think you have to be frustrated. I feel bad for teachers. Not all teachers. We have teachers who are up there saying, this is how you teach Marxism, this is how you teach communism. And I know that all teachers are not alike. I know just because you're in a union doesn't mean you're a bum or a Marxist. I think a lot of it comes from the very top. And most people deny that it even is at the top, and they say, well, no, but we're not like that. And you guys are sitting here with the union pressures on the top, the political pressures over here, the pressures from out-of-control parents. You guys are in an impossible situation. Impossible situation. Joe.
You know, we're operating under something called No Child Left Behind now. I don't know how you achieve that with vouchers when you skim off the parents who care, and that's great. Everybody wants parents who care. What about the core that's left behind?
You know
what do you do with that? The problem, Glenn, with Philadelphia and Baltimore is not the schools. The problem is Philadelphia and Baltimore. It's a cultural breakdown. I think we're attacking the wrong problem. And with vouchers, we're already having funding cut in public schools. I don't know how we make this magic work anymore. And now you're going to take some more of it and take it away.
Well, I tell you, Philadelphia and Baltimore, I lived in Philadelphia. I don't know how you solve Philadelphia, because that is a cultural problem. It is a complete meltdown. And you're exactly right. But just the name, No Child Left Behind, is such bullcrap, I don't even know what to do. I mean, no child left behind. I mean, help me out on that. I'm sorry, not physically. We care for people. We take care of people that can't take care of themselves. But you know what? Hey, you got Fs. You flunk. You're doing it over again. No child left behind. We are slowing our children down for the group. In collective salvation, it doesn't work. Josh, you're...
I think that's exactly right, Glenn. I think one of the issues that we have is we're working, when you said about teacher frustration, regardless of political affiliation, I know it's hard for me to think of a teacher that loves going to their job on a daily basis because of all the stress and the pressure and all these other... But we're operating on a system that, 30, 40 years ago, maybe you could have gotten away with because parents were more involved. But I think now you have a situation where it's a conveyor belt operation, where you send your kid to school in first grade and they go to school 180 days and they move to second grade. Regardless of how much they've achieved or the mastery or proficiency, that's not the constant. The constant is the time. The learning is not there. And so until we address that as a system, I don't see how we're going to change.
How many people here think that you are only preparing for a test all the time? I mean, kind of?
Sometimes.
I mean, the testing, to me, it's part of No Child Left Behind. The testing is an absolute nightmare. I mean, I don't care, honestly, and I know that, I know I'm not a teacher, and I'm not responsible for anybody to get a diploma or have a successful life at the end of this, journey that I'm on. But I could care less. I couldn't care less about the dates that a war happened. Who cares? Tell the story. And you can't test that. All the tests seem to be dates. What difference? It's almost like it's intentionally being written to have kids go, I hate history. Right? Yes.
With the testing, you're replacing civics. The reason why kids don't know any civics, nobody teaches it. Because you have to teach reading and math. Reading and math. I was at a school, we had 36 business teachers. Because everything was in business, whether it was entrepreneurship, business law, now there's one. So everything's being removed, all the subjects, less vocational education because of it's math and reading because of the testing. It's testing, testing.
I happen to know the chairman of the board of the Wharton School of Business. You know the number one problem they have at the Wharton School of Business? They got lots of people that want to go there. Anybody know? They cannot get the students at Wharton to answer the question, why would this be wrong to do? Ethics. They say, they'll say, is this wrong? And the students will say, well, did they make money? Yes. Well, then it's good. And there's no ethics. And the schools, and it's not just Wharton, it's all of them across the board. There's no right and wrong anymore. Can you, as teachers, teach right and wrong? You try. How? Yes. Let me go up here there. Go ahead, Chris.
One of the reasons why I think is because when you're talking about like shaping policy and school reform, the teachers really don't seem to have much of a say in shaping the policy and school reform. So when you have people outside the field making the decisions, it's like hard to connect everything up because who's making
the decisions?
The politicians. People outside the field. The teachers really don't have a voice. They're not getting to say the things that we need to, focus on in terms of policy reform.
So what would be what would you say is the biggest thing that, if anybody had a grand unifying theory here to fix it, what would it be? Yes.
I think it all comes down to it's not an education problem. I think it's a values problem. Excellent teachers create excellent students. I'm a union person, but I believe that the unions have drastically delinquished the quality of excellent teachers. How could you expect students to demand excellence from themselves when we demand mediocrity from our teachers?
See, I don't think you do. See, here's my problem. Here's my problem with, hang on, Laura, and then I'll go to you, because you disagree, and I do too with that, and I see if it's the same thing. I don't think that it's that, I've met a lot of great teachers, but I've also had a 4th grade teacher for my oldest daughter who she came back and she actually said, Dad, this was made by Japs. And I said, excuse me? And she said, this was made in Japan. They're an enemy of ours. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, well, my teacher, we were learning about World War II, and she said that even though we won, they're still not friendly, et cetera, et cetera. I went to the principal and I said, do we have somebody stuck in 1941? And this person was tenured, and they couldn't get rid of her. And it was a nightmare. I don't think you have, I've met a lot of great teachers. The problem is those great teachers have to drag along all the bad teachers. Laura, we're going to go to you next. Hang on, I have to take a break. We're back for a full hour with teachers who I think we'll get to here in a few minutes would like your help. And teachers all around the country, we're going to give you some ideas on what you can do to join up with each other. Laura, you seemed a little verklempt.
You can have all the excellent teachers that you want, but I know that I used to make a difference in the education of my students. They come back, and I know that. But recently, I have been handed a curriculum, and I've been told exactly how to teach every single day. I have to have... Is
that right? Does everybody else feel that way, that you pretty much have a curriculum?
I have to have small group work every day, large group, whole class work every day. I have to ask them a critical thinking question of the day, every day. And it's group work, which means the child's grade doesn't depend on what they do independently. And
well, that's what we're headed for, the collective salvation.
They've turned me into this thing that I don't even recognize. I don't know how to teach that way. And I've adapted, but when my door is closed,
You follow that, you're on television. I follow that.
I follow that. I know I do. I follow that.
Yes.
I can tell you I follow that.
Yes, we all believe you,
but
too. Right?
There's more whole group than small group. Look, because that's how I have to teach.
I have to tell you, everybody in television, and they still do, tell me every day, the show can't work, Glenn. The show can't work. I know, but it does. We're either number 1, number 2, or number 3 every single night. I use chalkboards. That's so outdated, it's incredible. When I first started, remember they had they had this holographic thing they were going to do, where I could take like Minority Report and do this, and it was a hologram. And I said, okay, I never figured that one out. How do I just get some chalkboards? And we use chalkboards. Shouldn't work. The point is, it won't work. If somebody else comes in and replaces me, it won't work. They'll probably use them, but it won't work. Because that's who I am. We are devaluing the individual. And you have to teach the way you are. And we have to be able to say, Laura, your students are dumb as a box of rocks when they finish the year. You're fired. We have to be able to find people that can teach in different ways. Josh, you brought up a great point a minute ago.
I think one of the issues is we never ask the question, why do we educate in the first place? You know, are we just educating so that we can be good employees? Or lots of kids that I see in school...
How do you answer that question?
Well, I think we have to get to where do we find meaning in life. And I think that if you hold to a naturalistic philosophy of things, we're just here. We're just, like you said the other night, we're a blob here, but that doesn't provide meaning. You know, you have to find some higher meaning without, you know, evangelizing on TV. But
yeah, but how do you? I know, because that wouldn't work.
No.
How do you? I mean, I don't know what your philosophy on life is. I don't want you teaching my children what.
Well, and somebody talked about critical thinking. I start the year with, I talk about logic and go through some of the laws of logic and critical thinking and question things in a logical manner so that you can arrive at an informed decision. And I think that there's a real lack of critical thinking and even questioning, why am I sitting in class? Is it just so I can go to a good school? Or maybe I'm just here because I have to be here, but I can't wait till I'm 17 so I can get my parents to sign me out, you know?
Can I tell you, how many people just feel like it's babysitting, like it's a pit stop for the day they have to do? You have to go to the school and sit there. One of my daughters said to me, I said, what did you learn in school today? And she said, well, I don't remember. Let's see. I got on the bus and I talked to so-and-so and went on and on and on and got the whole thing. And I said, okay, next part. And then she got into the school and she said, and then the teacher talked. And then we had lunch and we blah, 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 blah. And I said, wait, go back. What did the teacher talk? She said, quote, I don't know, that's her time. Yeah, I corrected that. But how many people feel like most or a lot of your students come in because they just have to be there? And so it's just a pit stop and they don't know why they're there. Really? No, hardly anybody? Small number of people. Okay, Andrew.
Yeah, my point earlier in the intermission was that what frustrates me as a teacher most is politicians and some media members bashing the teaching profession. It makes it harder for us to do our job.
Do you feel
harder
I do
for
that?
us to have respect. I think you can do it at times. I think you're very anti-union.
No.
Yes. I've heard that. I have heard that, Mr. Beck.
Andy Stern, is this part of your power of persuasion or persuasion of power? So you have a problem with the bashing of teachers?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a New Jerseyan, so as you're probably aware of Governor Christie, he's not very fond of teachers in general.
See, I think, how many, who are from, hang on, you disagree? Go ahead, Julie.
I'm a teacher in New Jersey, too, and I was embarrassed when I went to my union's meeting and about how he wanted teachers to take a pay freeze for a year, and I said, why not? If it's going to save jobs of my colleagues, yes. And our union stood up and said, nope, he's a bully. He should tax people who make over $400,000. I mean, it was embarrassing to me that fellow educators were talking about him in such an unfair way and distorting things. So I don't think when the union in Wisconsin was acting that way in their own state capitol building, they did themselves any favors for public relations. So I don't worry so much about...
I worry, honestly, I worry about you, Julie, on what you're saying here. I worry about teachers because the unions, and it is a political machine, make no mistake. AFL-CIO is a political machine. And, you know, Trumka says he meets with somebody at the White House every single day. He's the most frequented guest at the White House. Before that, it was Andy Stern when we got health care. This is a political machine that's going on. And if the teachers don't stand up and say, whoa, 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 whoa. I mean, I may agree with the politics in the White House or disagree with the politics of the White House, but you separate them here because this is different. I think if teachers don't start standing up, that's why I'm so pleased that you guys are here. And I'm not saying you're against the unions, but I'm glad you're here because parents and citizens need to see that there are teachers out there that are saying, enough. This is crazy what's going on. Hang on just a sec, back in a minute. I don't think we're going to find any consensus here at all. There are, this is a studio audience full of teachers and passionate teachers. And it's good to know that there are the teachers out there that are standing up for your right to be an individual and teach the way you feel is the most effective. Or to say, no, wait a minute, we do have to be more logical. Or to say, no, well, no, wait a minute, I don't think Christy is. Or Joe, what was your statement here?
Unions don't behave perfectly. No organization I've ever been in has gone without disappointing me at some time, whether it's my union, whether it's my company, whether it's my church, whether it's my family, and frankly, sometimes myself. We don't behave perfectly. I don't think the union is the political machine you claim, apparently by the results of the last election.
Hold on just a second. Wait.
Okay.
Hold on, just wait. I'll let you finish. You watch the show?
Yes.
You watch the show?
Yes. Not all the time, but yeah,
okay.
A lot.
How many here have seen the things that I have shown from the unions where they are in bed with communists and Marxists? Okay? So you've seen it. So when I say a political machine, I don't necessarily mean that they're trying to get somebody elected. That machine has made the decision up at the top. I don't think the union members have, but up at the top they've made the decision, as Andy Stern says, and Richard Trumka, workers of the world unite. They are moving towards a different political machine than our republic. And that's what I mean. And they are clearly indoctrinating and using whatever button they can push on people to unite them and get them to push in that direction. You disagree with that?
Welcome to the world of unions and lobbies. And you're right, they are doing that.
Well, that's a problem with unions and lobbies.
In Pennsylvania, let me give you an example. In Pennsylvania, half the teachers who voted for the Republican Governor Corbett, okay? And I don't think they realized what Corbett had in mind for education, which was outright destruction, but they went that way nonetheless. What I don't see is where the union has held me back from being a great teacher. It doesn't affect me in my classroom. I work with great teachers, and maybe I'm lucky. I think I am. We work in a great district. We're allowed to do things. I came in the first few years. I've done outrageous things, as Dave can tell you. I've had heated public political discussions in the faculty room. Trust me, I hold my line on issues. But I've been accepted nonetheless. I don't think it's this monolithic machine that you're talking about, and it certainly does not prevent me from being a good teacher.
I am not saying that at your level. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, can anybody else explain this? I'm saying this, yes, up here, go ahead.
Mr. Beck, I totally disagree, and I also teach in the state of Pennsylvania. I did vote for Governor Corbett, and I'm proud of that, and I have to say, if this is not a political machine, the unions generate $2 billion a year from our dues that we have to contribute. If they are not a political machine, then why does that money not go towards education?
I mean, you've seen the who was the guy that was the head of the union here recently? We played his farewell speech, and he said, look, we can all say that we're here for them, talking to the unions. We'd all say we're here for the kids. You remember the speech? Who was it? Do you remember? Anybody remember?
The NEA president.
NEA president, that's what it was. NEA president. We're here for the power.
Not about the kids.
Not about the kids, we're here for the power. Yes.
How do you protect the rights of the teachers in terms of like going back to traditionally with women and when it started with teaching, when teachers would get exploited and different things are going on? How do you protect the rights of the teachers when you don't have the solidarity and the collective bargaining?
I'm not against, believe it or not, I just talked to my mother-in-law oh, I've told this story before, was arrested on a union march with Jesse Jackson. Okay? And I just told her just the other day, she said, man, our school is out of control. And I said, Mom, I will march with you. She works at Yale. They treat their employees like garbage. Unions, I'm not against unions. I'm against corporations being so wildly out of control with no one watching over them. No, there's no stop. Right now, call the police on GE. Who are you going to call? Who are you going to call? All the way to the White House. There's no one to call because they're all in bed. Okay? If somebody's abusing the system in a corporation or in schools or whatever, and there's no union, who are you going to call? What, are you going to get another job? You're not going to get another job. You know what I mean? So it's the balance of things. When unions become too powerful, they get out of control. When business becomes too powerful, out of control, it's do the right thing. And that's what's not being taught anymore. Yes, in the back.
Oh, a couple of things. Our unions, the U of T, I work and teach in New York City, and a lot of times there's problems with older buildings, asbestos, PCBs, things of that nature. And the U of T has come to the defense of the kids, you know, stopping work, making sure the school is a safe environment to learn in. So they do some good as well. I agree with you, though. They become a large political, powerful machine that, in my school, there are a lot of people that don't agree with their political agenda. They're out there. People are afraid to speak up.
Your money speaks louder than your words. Josephine. Very long microphone.
I believe we need competition. I mean, when you're in business and you want a good product, you have competition.
The unions are squashing the competition. You don't want competition, Joe.
That's not true.
Okay.
That's a distortion. What I'm saying is, and coming from business, I'm a former chief financial officer. I understand economics. I'm a capitalist, believe me. I vote
just
your
not
way
in
most
education.
Of the time. Here's the deal. Here's where the business model fundamentally breaks down, and I can go on for 2 hours about this. Let me give you an example. In business, if your revenues are down 20%, what do you do? What do you do?
You fire or cut back or
right,
you raise
because you
prices.
don't need as many people to produce product, service, deliver, administer it, okay? Our revenues get cut by 15%. Do we get rid of 15% of our kids? No, we keep them.
Pardon me, go ahead.
Wait.
Also trim fat, too, to
And
stay
there's
alive.
not nearly as much fat in education. Believe me, I've seen it.
No.
There is not nearly.
Who agrees with that? Who
Not
agrees that
nearly.
there's not enough fat to cut? There's not a lot of fat to cut in schools. Right, okay.
Is there some? Sure. There is fat in every profession.
Pardon me?
Yeah.
You know, in business, you basically, you bring stuff home from work. People do it all the time. In teaching, we steal stuff from home and we bring it in.
Okay, let me tell you something, though. I went to...
Because my kids have gone to Christian schools, and I teach in a Christian school, and we become highly resourceful teachers. We end up reusing everything from the scrap paper that we cut it in half for tests.
Back in a minute. Go 2 or 3 hours with this crowd tonight. Things are just starting to get warmed up. We are with teachers, many of them union members, and talking about what's going on in our schools and how to fix it. Lee.
Yeah, so in Pennsylvania, where we're from, it's not a right-to-work state. So the teachers have to join the union, or pay dues. You can opt out of the union, but you have to pay the dues either way. So that's like
so as long as they got your money.
Yeah. They don't ask their opinion about what's going on at the national level or even the state level. So it's representation. No representation for the little guy.
Even though that's what it's supposed to be.
Right.
Is representation. Yes, Dan.
Yeah, I have a toddler that's about to enter into kindergarten, and I am listening to everybody here just concerned that she's not going to be co-opted into some form of a political machine. I brought a book with me today that's from 1933, and it was a German propaganda book where the children would collect photographs and fill them into the book and look at how great the heroes of the Nazi Party are. And I see it already where my daughter's in pre-K, and she comes home with little coloring pages, and some of the pictures are people sitting in traffic, and it's supposed to be a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Now, why is that a thumbs down or a thumbs up? Why is it even on the page? She's in pre-K.
Well, you're already seeing it too.
I'm already seeing it.
Yeah, one of the guys that works with me, Joe. How old was your daughter when this happened? Where's Joe? Is he here? I think she was about 8. Came back, reading all about Che, everybody else. And he looked at it and said, whoa, 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 wait. And they were teaching all of these revolutionaries and all of these Marxists, and it wasn't Marxist studies, it was really people who have changed the world. I mean, that's a real problem.
It's even that the Washington cut down the cherry tree. It's a complete farcical story. There's no such thing at all. Why not tell a story of where he was shoved by someone to the ground, and the next day he came back, and instead of fighting this person, he stuck his hand out and said, "Sir, I've dishonored you, and I apologize." I had 3 teachers that I can solidly remember when I went to school, and one taught me discipline, one taught me honor, the honor system, and another one taught me self-reliance. And those are the 3 teachers that I remember as if I had them yesterday. Everyone else is a blur, because I remember hearing from teachers on and off about different political aspects that they believed in, and it didn't make sense to me.
I have to tell you, I think we're so concerned about teaching about bullying. In fact, let me take a quick break and we'll come back. I want to start there on bullying. Because I mean, me personally, I think we were spending so much time on bullying in school, and it doesn't make any sense because we're also seeing bullying all the time being rewarded in real life. I mean, I'm sorry, the capitalist system works every time. In this case, bullying and the capitalist system are uniting, and it's called YouTube. And YouTube is making them a star, and bullying is winning. But I'd rather talk. Actually, Julie had a question about how are we going to change this, or how, you feel like you're alone.
Yeah, alone. I mean, within the 4 walls of my classroom, I do my job and I do what I know is right. I teach my children patriotic songs. We sing the 2nd verse of My Country 'Tis of Thee, which has God in every other line. But what do I do beyond that? I mean, I had emailed and talked with my superintendent saying last year when we were asked to make cuts, I will do this. I think we should. But when so many around you were saying, sit down, sit down, sit down, what do you do?
You have to stand up, and you're being here. But I tell you, the ones who are going to win and fundamentally transform and will actually have power in the world will be those who understand community organizing. Community organizing is the most powerful force. I mean, I mocked it 3 years ago. I mean, it was like, please, he's a community organizer. Ooh, that kind of... It's changing the world. And if you don't reach out, you won't be able to. You've got to say, okay, this is so far out of my comfort zone, but I'm starting this group of teachers, and let it grow. Teachers have to find each other. We will put something on the website tonight that will, at glennbeck.com. Just go to glennbeck.com and click on it, and we will find a way to have you unite. And if anybody wants to start some organization where teachers who believe things are out of control and we've got to find a new way, you write to us at glennbeck.com, and we'll try to put you together. Thanks. Back in just a second. That Americans need to know. One is compassion, and I think this group has it. And the other is courage, and I know this group has it. Thank you for coming and speaking out and beginning a stand. And we will have more on this in the coming days. Lots of news to share with you next week. Don't miss a single episode. We'll see you then. From New York, good night, America. Sitting in the audience tonight. This is an audience tonight made up of teachers. First of all, how many are in a union? How many are comfortable saying that you're in a union on television? Okay, I mean on this show, because I mean everything you say, you're toast. Just get everybody's name and phone number down. If their car explodes, we'll know it's because of the show. I wanted to talk to you, and normally we don't have this much dialogue with the audience, but you are a group of people that I've been wanting to talk to, because we just had a woman talk to us. We have her on next week, I believe. She is a liberal Democrat. I'm sure she disagrees with almost everything that I say on this program. But she went to look into what was going on in Tucson, where they are teaching the overthrow of the government. And she was to demand that our government protect the atmosphere for our future, end quote. I showed you yesterday a Tucson school, in a Tucson school board meeting. It got out of hand. The kids chained themselves to desks, pounding their fists. The meeting was rescheduled. The situation the second time turned out so ugly that riot police had to be called in. This all over a cancellation of Mexican-American Studies class. That class is teaching kids to overthrow the United States government and take states back for Mexico. A school used to be a place to learn, not just history, science, math, but also discipline and respect for authority. Our educational system has put social justice and political correctness above our education, and our children are not only being shortchanged, they're being turned into, I think, slaves eventually. Take a listen to the complaints about our educational system. These are just some of them. Education policies are written by politicians and special interest groups. Eliminate teachers' tenure. Eliminate teachers' last hired, first fired policy. There's bias and distortion in textbooks. Teachers' unions are just powerful political machines. Frustration with the political activity of the NEA. They're removing God and the Bible out of schools and replacing him or it with intellectual neutrality. There are no morals taught in schools. Huge retirement packages, people say. The teachers' pensions are a problem. Not allowing children to fail in our schools. Board of Education is controlling what they teach and when they teach it. And schools have become too politically correct. This is a group of complaints not from parents, but from teachers. The complaint directly from teachers, brave teachers. Getting into some action tonight. Hello, America. There was a report out this week that only 22% of 8th graders passed a basic civics test in the country. The conclusion, millions of young Americans will be unprepared to be informed and engaged, that a healthy citizenry, a healthy democracy requires. When the news last Sunday came out of UBL's death, the number 5 search on Google was, who's that? 25% of all searches overall for UBL came from those under 24. That means kids growing up today don't know who the most wanted man in the world is. You should have seen some of the searches. They were, why did they kill him, and why does it matter? What did he ever do to anyone? You want to know what they do know? Global warming. A new Yale study says 57% of teens understand that global warming is caused mostly by humans' activities. Is it really now? We also have 2 Girl Scouts in Michigan leading a campaign against their organization's cookies, saying the heavy use of palm oil contributes to destroying the rainforest and killing endangered species like orangutans. Keep killing the orangutans, the cookies are yummy. So, they have 57,000 signatures. But out in California, groups of teens are now suing the government for not protecting the earth. And they're planning marches across the globe. They wrote on their website, "Our climate, our future, our revolution." They say, quote, "Youth have the moral authority and the legal right, as the generation most affected by the climate crisis, to